Well, it finally happened. After waiting, what, like 2-3 years for it? Episode 3 finally dropped. And it's so much worse than I ever thought it could be. Anyway, I'm your host, the Doom Prophet. If my voice sounds messed up, you'll have to forgive me. I just got done streaming 6 hours of this degenerate filth. And before that, I streamed 6 hours of this degenerate filth the previous day. So, I'm feeling kind of rough. Now, obviously, spoilers in this video. I think that's fair, considering you clicked on a video that says episode 3 of something. But we're going to be talking about all the endings. So if you don't want to get spoiled, click off. Go watch the stream if you really want to see it happen. But yeah, in case you missed it, April Fools! Episode 3 finally released. The joke is that you never thought it was gonna happen because the last episode came out Halloween of 2023. That was like a full 16 months ago now. We just basically completely forgot about it. And then the episode that just got released, the one we're playing now, came out like 3 days ago. It's been done. It was done a long time ago, and there was a vote for some reason, and you chucklefucks voted not to release it. And the author was so dumbfounded by her mistake, there was another vote to fix the mistake. And now we finally have it. And this is why I have no faith in democracy. But I digress. So, here's the thing. I say episode 3, but really, it's only like half of episode 3. And then, actually, it's really only like half that, so a quarter-ish. Here, consult this graph. Did that help? You know it's a mess when you have to consult a graph to understand the branching paths of the game. But here's what it boils down to. Remember episode 2, Halloween 2023? So there's 2 different endings or routes that you can finish that game with. There's the burial route, which, yeah, sounds bad, but basically that's the one where the 2 siblings trust each other. So, and strengthen their relationship. And then there's decay, where the whole relationship kind of falls apart. And that's what we're playing now. Now, these 2 routes are so different that apparently they require 2 completely different episode 3s. So what we're playing right now is the version of episode 3 that goes from the decay route. But that's not a haul, because apparently the story was so long, the author had to break it up into 2 different parts. So actually what we're playing is the first part of that. So what we're playing in this video is one of the 2 variations of episode 3 and the first half of that variation. Are you following? Are you following? Are you following? And guess what? I'll spoil it. No on-screen cannibalism happens in this episode. I'm making it the, alright, we're ready to start. The game begins with a very metaphysical puzzle sequence. We wander some sort of dream/demon realm as a soul, solving puzzles that are clearly related to the Graves family. Now, initially, I assumed this was the mother Renee, since, she's sleeping with the fishes, but upon further reflection, my chat and I agree that this is actually Andrew. And these puzzles are basically the traumas and damage from Andrew's childhood resurfacing in a pretty tragic way. And this sort of sets the stage for the entire episode. I basically think this episode is Andrew's show, and Ashley's just living in it. Now, there are an enormous amount of flashbacks here, and most of them are filling in the details for what we didn't know about the early life of the siblings. I'm not going to go through all of them here, but the main takeaway is that because Andrew was the good child, and he had a terrible family, he essentially raised himself and Ashley. However, he was also determined to escape, and he was going to use the classic tool of academic excellence. Essentially, his plan was to go off to a fancy college and never look back. Then we get a long flashback where we go to visit Grandma and Grandpa Graves to find out that, yep, trauma is generational. These people suck too. But boiling this one down to its bare essentials, it's basically just Andrew gets unfairly treated and blamed for his sister's behavior, and no one in the family will stick up for him. Also, there's an interesting tidbit of knowledge here. You can dig up a time capsule and see Douglas and Renee when they were young, and the dad is a motorcycle riding bad boy. Anyway, back to the present, the dynamic duo have the car of the hitman from episode 2. There's your classic shenanigans, and the 2 have an argument that leads to a major decision. There's a very compromising pose here, and Andrew has to decide under the threat of violence whether he's going to be Andy, essentially Ashley's pet, or Andrew, his own man. By the way, I'm being super brief and skipping over tons of stuff in this video because this isn't a cute 2-hour little romp anymore. Each of these routes takes about 6 hours to play. There's just too much for me to cram in here, okay? Obviously, we're men here, so we're going the Andrew route, and Andrew kind of has a mask off moment and gets violent, which more or less temporarily placates Ashley. Then, to rub salt on the wound, right after the scene, you can call Julia, Andrew's ex-girlfriend, right in front of Ashley, and they have this excruciating conversation, which of course I had to read out loud when we were playing this live. Then, they decide to recharge the dream trinket with the souls of these unsuspecting campers. Also, Andrew's access to this trinket is a major issue of contention because remember, this is the route where Andrew saw no vision way back in episode 2. Of course, this goes horribly wrong, and through a series of mishaps, the police get called by the child of the unsuspecting campers, and the friendly entity says, "You guys can chill in my realm." Except, he really doesn't like Andrew, like at all. Anyway, it's kind of an out of the frying pan into the fire situation because now they're in the realm between, or maybe the demon realm, and there's a whole bunch of puzzles and lore on how these places work, which is cool because it feels like this world is getting really fleshed out. I mean, here we are in episode 3. So my internal thought process when this game got released was, oh my god, fans of the channel are expecting me to stream this, right? But then I was like, wait, this is the decay route. Nothing sus is gonna happen. I can have a nice, peaceful stream. And then this happened. Chat, close your eyes. Close your eyes, chat. Anyway, the siblings make their way to the entity's house, sweet digs, and yada yada yada. Ashley cuts the deal explicitly against Andrew's wishes. Because Ashley is a tar soul, the demon wants to do this goofy-ass thing where they jump through the ritual circle teleports and steal souls together. Anyway, Andrew's pissed, and when he gets left alone, it's time for an Andrew solo adventure. What happened here? We'll be back here later. Okay, so then Andrew bumps into Lord Unknown, a familiar face, because guess what? Andrew bumped into this guy when he was a little child. Now, this scary dude is interested in Andrew because Andrew is a tar soul candidate, because apparently they hatch from grime souls. Then we play like a million flashbacks in a row where the Lord Unknown is probing into Andrew's mind. And these flashbacks serve to illustrate how awful Andrew's life was, but also to make some things clear. Andrew was always a troubled individual who struggled with certain forbidden attractions for quite some time. There's an entire Costco box palette of psychological can of worms being opened here, and it culminates in basically the Lord Unknown is like, I'll purge you of your no-no thoughts if you become my lackey. And that's where episode 3-2 Decay Route is going to start, because this is the cliffhanger ending. So, what happens if we choose Andy? Well, that actually leads to one of the super quick endings, where Andy gets mega whipped with a capital whoosh, and just gets completely blackballed that he's forever just going to be Leyley's plaything. And basically the same events play out, but when Ashley strikes the deal with the entity, he's just like, whatever, and hangs out in the demon realm. Forever, I guess. No, realistically, this isn't that bad. For all of their crimes, getting to chill in some demon dimension is basically a happy ending. She's done playing for the day. It's back in the box with you. Whoa. Wait, what? This is an ending? But that's not the real other ending. I hope you have a save file where you didn't shoot the hitman with capital letters, because having extra rounds in the revolver is the trigger for this entire route for some reason. Now, I didn't know I had to have a save file with the exact right conditions, so live on stream we had to speed on episode 2 just to get the revolver with bullets, and everything plays out almost exactly the same. We choose Andrew, but now we can't make that phone call to Julia. You'll see why later. Also, let's pick this up. That might come in handy later. Okay, give the campers the big soul suck, yada yada yada, but now, the realm between, or the demon realm, is different. It's the one Ashley saw in her vision. The one where Andrew goes all Jack Torrance with an axe. And yes, that is one of the shorter endings. Andrew goes a little cuckoo bonkers, realizes Ashley is a complete and absolute lost cause, and plays a little game of tag with her and wins. Wins a little too hard. But that's still not the real ending. If, instead, Ashley evades Andrew long enough, the entity comes and intervenes, and Ashley strikes a quick and rather uninformed deal with the devil, where she knocks the soul out of Andrew in exchange for, well, anything. So in this one, she's basically forced to do the same job she was doing earlier, while she tries to figure out what to do with the lethal frenzied Andrew. So this is kind of interesting, because my original theory of how the endings were going to shake down was there was going to be an ending where Andrew kills Ashley, check, and I sort of thought there might be an ending where Andrew gets back with Julia, possibly that same ending. One, no-no ending, and some other bonus ending for the burial route. And then I figured there'd be an ending where Ashley kills Andrew because of, you know, the vision. But the writing in this episode makes it clear Ashley can under no circumstance get rid of Andrew. She absolutely needs him, and even insists on putting his soul back in here. Anyway, the soul reintegration doesn't go well, and the entity kicks Andrew out of the demon realm, and Ashley's solution is to literally chain Andrew to the radiator in some random apartment. This gives Andrew a lot of time to think and become an alcoholic, but he's a resourceful, crafty man, and guess who he manages to call? Julia! So there's a Julia ending after all. No. Actually, Julia, like, giga spells it out for you in case you didn't realize by now. Andrew is a psychopath. Now, she does still free you, and then Andrew has an absolutely pathetic and heart-wrenching scene where he's gonna escape and live his life, and then he just returns to the apartment like a beaten dog. And speaking of beating, guess what the next scene is? And no, I don't think I can show it on YouTube because I want to keep my tasty monetization, because there is no way I am playing this shit for free at this point. If you're really desperate to see what happens here, just watch the stream. I almost crashed out like 10 times. And I don't know what I was expecting, but this was way worse than whatever was in my head. Okay, so after the beating, there's smashing. And yes, that kind of smashing. You thought it wasn't going to happen, but there are no lows this game won't stoop to. Okay, so the morning after the Super Smash Bros. Match, now you get another choice. The ring. So if you didn't get the ring, or if you throw it away, you'll get a lovely ending where you traumatize some children in a double Crisplat long drop sudden stop maneuver. God forbid you choose the ring, you get the cohabitation ending where Andrew assumes the identity of this random unlucky cultist, and Ashley does the demon soul sucking gig, and they continue in an absolutely dysfunctional codependency until the game ends like this. Okay, now it should be done. What do we... No! And I am just not reading this shit anymore. I assume you can read, do the legwork from here. And that's it. That is one of the possible endings to this story. Like one of the canon 4. There's 2 more possible endings in the burial route, and I guess 1 more from Decay Part 2. So, thoughts? Well, first of all, that was brutal. That was like way worse than I thought it was gonna be. And I know Decay is probably like the bad end, but god damn, I don't have the taste for it anymore, guys. I do think the expansion of the world is neat, and the story is really getting fleshed out. We learn a tremendous amount about the characters. They remain complicated and nuanced, but we're at the point where everyone is just objectively a horrible person. But they do remain compelling. However, in my personal opinion, I believe the author might have gone a little overboard here. I can't help but feel that Andrew's character got like a little bit assassinated. There's a little bit of character assassination in this chapter. Like we get a ton of flashbacks explaining in excruciating detail how bad his early life was. How much his parents failed, how he had to raise Leyley, you know, in lieu of her actual parents. So then, with that setup, you have this beautiful tragedy, where the events of his life prevent him from being the beautiful golden boy he was supposed to be. Smart, successful. But then, all that shit with the Lord Unknown dredges up the fact that he's been a pervert with devious intentions about his sister and, you know, violent/murderous tendencies all along. And remember, he had plausible deniability about the sister all through episode 1 and some of episode 2. And personally, I'm just much more fascinated in episode 1, which is kind of more about how much can you put a person through? What are the lengths they're going to go to survive? How much can they compromise on their morals when they're put in a, you know, an incredible situation? How much can morality be stretched? Leyley was obviously never really in question, but Andrew was potentially not a lost cause, right? But then, this episode just goes out of its way to show how evil to the core Andrew is. But then, in this bonus vision you can unlock, it shows you that the hot neighbor that Andrew was left alone with in episode 1 that mysteriously perished was not his fault. And all along, I thought that was like the tell. That was how you're supposed to know that Andrew was just as bad as Ashley. It was like your little hint in episode 1. So the author has all these flashbacks with Lord Unknown. There's just like, yeah, Andrew was cooked from the start. But then the author goes out of the way to be like, but this particular thing wasn't his fault. The thing that was supposed to be the tell that he was as psychopathic as Leyley. I don't know. I'm just getting mixed messages, man. I've got no taste for this anymore. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'll see you guys in like 2 years when the next part's out. Take it easy. Doom Prophet out. I'm just not reading this shit anymore.